Upon initial interaction, we tend to swiftly categorize people based on our first impressions. Over time, our perceptions of individuals become influenced by the initial labels we assign. While this cognitive process is often rapid and effective, when people rely too much on labels in their fast-paced lives, it's crucial to recognize that these labels generate a seemingly clear yet ambiguous mental image that is both arbitrary and subjective. Employing labels aids in swift information identification and enhances efficiency. Nevertheless, an over-reliance on labels coupled with a disregard for individual distinctions with a group can result in detrimental consequences, such as the development of stereotype and prejudice. This is what's called labeling theory. When a person is labeled with a word name, he will start self-impressed management, so that his behavior is consistent with the content of the label. This phenomenon is caused by labeling, so it's called the labeling theory. Psychology believes that the reason why there will be a labeling theory is mainly because label has a qualitative-oriented role. Whether it's a good or bad label, it has a strong impact on a person's personality consciousness of self-identification. The result of labeling a person is often to make him develop in a direction indicated by the label. When self-awareness is not perfect, we know and define ourselves more or less by what others say about us. Through such an external evaluation system, each of us affirmed maintainly a lot of social attributes, and under the drive of these social attributes, we have a lot of pursuits, so as to constantly create a social value to maintain socially prosperity. But the problem is, for you personally, if you accept the judgment of others, it will lead to a blurred sense of yourself, and you will be manipulated by others to do what others want you to do. But each of us has our own unique ideas, and the judgment of others will conflict with this. This conflict then leads us to a state of self-division. This often leads people to abandon themselves and play themselves according to the expectations, opinions, and evaluations of others. They always stop and deny their own feelings, so that they are often unable to distinguish what they really feel. Blind labeling makes us lose our own thinking process, unable to recognize the true self, and lost in the conflict between self and the outside world. If not properly guided, long-term emission in negative emotions will lead to various months of mental illness. Not only people have labels, but so do many things, like mental illness. The stigma of mental illness can be divided into two types. First is social stigma from outside world, and the second is patient's stigma and awareness. It's a feeling of shame about being sick. Society stigmatizes people with mental problems as abnormal, and then relegates them in inferior beings. The patients themselves seem to accept this assumption, considering it humiliating that they have that disease. Research has shown that the stigma is significantly higher in people with mental illness than in people with cancer, but very few of them get treatment. In the case of the BICES sample, there are still many people with such a negative attitude towards psychological counseling and mental illness. Societal labels contribute to stigma, discrimination, and reluctance to seek treatment among individuals with mental disorders. However, interventions aimed at reducing stigma and promoting mental health literacy have shown promise in improving attitudes towards mental illness and increasing help-seeking behavior. So what we should do first is to understand knowledge of psychological problems. Understanding the symptom and the causes of autism will help us understand the strange behaviors. Understanding is the beginning of change. And the second to do is nurture mental health. Physical health has been the area of national concern. Health articles have swept the circle of friends. If there were half as much attention paid to mental health as there is to physical health, stigma would not be as strong. And the third is to include others. Moving from social isolation to acceptation is a process, but individual efforts can speed up the process. The diversity of society is partially because it is made up of all kinds of different people, and everyone should not be excluded. Look at each person as a unique individuals, not just a label. Fourth, talk openly. Throw away your inhibitions and start talking about psychological problems to family and friends. No one will be ashamed when this subject is no longer taboo. And the last, embracing therapy. There's no shame in seeing a doctor and there's no need to hide it. Psychotherapy is just like raising a cat. It is a means to enhance happiness. Thank you for watching.